All right, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to day two of our fourth annual career fair. Very happy to have everybody here with us today. We want to just go ahead and hop right into it. And today we're starting with Clay Bradford in his job in construction. So I want to give him all the time that he deserves for taking that time out of his busy schedule. So, Clay, if you'd like to kick it off.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 23-24 Career Fair. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Clay Bradford, and I am the owner-operator of Custom Plus Construction, located in Oakhurst, California. We opened doors of our business in June of '93, and I have been in the construction industry since 1983. We specialize in the design of custom homes, additions, and remodeling. And we basically provide a turnkey project from start to finish for all of our customers. So with that being said, I can give you a few things that we actually do. And we actually have customers that are referred to us. Most of our business is referral based. And we have them contact us with usually they've already purchased a piece of land, and we meet them for the first time, many times of meeting them, and we usually view their property first to get an idea of what they want to do, and then we look at what they want to build, and we proceed forward with the design. We help them with contacting someone when it comes to finance so they can afford to build the project. And then we take it through the design process, the permit process based off of where they're actually building. And then once the plans are completed, they go into the building department for permits. And that's a lengthy process. And we take all the worry and the headache away from the customer, try to make it as comfortable as we can for them. And then from there, the exciting part of it is breaking ground and starting to build their homes. Now, we just don't do homes. We also do home improvement via things like additions and remodels. And but through that process, we get them, which is our goal, is to get them through the project and get them finished, and then actually happy with what we've done. So what I can do is give you guys a little idea based off of what you would need to do if you wanted to get into this field, and a little information. And this is a lot of it's based off of opinion. I am not college educated. I'm not against college by any means, but I don't think starting out in this business, you necessarily need to go to college to get into it. My suggestion would be, obviously you have to get to the state of being licensed, which there's qualifications through the state that you have to do. But I would say starting out, if you're interested in this field, I would see if you can locate a reputable building contractor licensed in the state and doing some internship. That would be your first step, because there's a lot of people out there looking for great people. And like I said, you don't have to necessarily have a college degree to do that. And then once you do an internship, you can be trained, and a lot of the builders will actually pay you for your internship. Not all, but some will. And you start working alongside of them, and you're basically getting, for the most part, a free education. So I didn't necessarily do the internship, but my uncle hired me during the summer, who was a general contractor, and I worked for him, and I was being paid. At that time, it wasn't a lot of money, but I was being paid to learn the trades, and there are a lot of trades involved. Now, one thing about our business is that we don't subcontract out to a lot of different vendors or subs. We typically do a lot of the work in-house, which means that you definitely need the trades. You need to know what they are and how they work. So basically what we do is I suggest, again, trying to find someone that'll give you an internship and train you as you go. Now, if you're fortunate and you do well, those individuals that you work for will probably end up at the end of your internship, will probably hire you on. And that turns into a job. And hopefully you find somebody that's in that case is good all around. So another way you can get into this business, which I think would be a great idea, is a trade school. So the trade school will, you might be able to get a scholarship. You might be able to go to City College. That's a great place to go. And you can learn construction management, which is a good thing. I don't suggest doing the construction management right off the get-go because you need to learn the trades: plumbing, electrical, roofing, framing, foundation, all of those things first. And then once you learn those trades and get enough experience behind you, then I would say that good idea would be to go in and start looking at the management of it. But management comes as you learn, basically. Um, Business schooling is a great thing. I did a little bit of that in City College in Merced. I thought I was going to get a little more out of it than I actually did. But from my background, I'm a third year generation carpenter. So I learned a lot from my family. My father's side of the family had a lot of experience in construction. So it really opened the door for me. And I just kind of had it in my blood anyway. And one thing my grandfather told me, if you don't like what you're doing, then you shouldn't do it. And it really doesn't matter to me how much money you're making. You've got to enjoy getting up each day and coming to work and liking what you do. So basically, those are the roads that you can take to get into this business, and that's what I would highly suggest you doing. Um, at this point, I think that if anyone has any questions in regards to this trade, I would be happy to answer any of those questions.
Awesome.
Okay. Blake, you want to? I did have a question. I didn't mean to cut you off,
Oh,
Blake.
go for it. No, please.
So we see, with the different presenters, one of the themes we've seen, Clay, is that there's different skill sets that are required for, or different. I guess you could say either hard or soft skills that are necessary for someone to be successful in the different careers or industries. Can you point us to a couple? I mean, it doesn't have to be an all in, encompassing or inclusive list, but can you share with us maybe just a couple skills that you think a student who is like, well, I heard from a student recently, he's like, well, I like to work with my hands. And so we started talking about, okay, what are some industries require you to work with your hands? What are some other skills though that this industry you think it would be good for a student to have?
Okay, go again. Sorry. Obviously, in my business, it's an outside type of work. I mean, primarily you work outside, so you gotta deal with the elements, and you gotta have the knowledge to be able to get through be tolerant with rain. So it's super cold I'm not trying to turn anyone off, but super cold in the wintertime and super hot in the summertime. Unless you get into strictly construction management. But usually, most people that get to construction management have already gone through the trades. So you got to, like you were saying, basically you've got to like working with your hands and creating. What I love is actually creating something and taking pride in what you do is a big thing. I mean, I basically kind of understate what I do for a living, but I literally put a roof over people's heads. And that is very gratifying. It really is, because there's two things primarily you're going to need to do when you live in this world. Is you're going to have a place to live, and you're going to have to feed yourself. So I give a lot of respect to people. Like at one time I had a part-time job in a grocery store. So I provided food for people. It all, everything comes into play. But I think putting a roof over people's heads, and that's where they lay their head down at night and go to sleep in something that you created, is so gratifying. So I would say that having the knack also of being skilled with your hands is a big thing, because not everybody can just, we don't call it grabbing a hammer and pounding a nail. There's a lot of other things that are involved as well. And then in my aspect, you're dealing with customers. So your customers have to be happy with what you're doing and what you're creating. So basically, that's, I think once you have looked at the whole picture, what's great about construction is it's a wide variety of things. So if you don't like plumbing, but you like to paint, you can paint. It's unlike a lot of jobs where, like, you know, you're just limited to one thing. You know, you're a bank teller. There's nothing wrong with bank tellers, but you're basically meeting a person and giving them money or cashing a check. So it's kind of limited on what you actually do. But in construction, you're doing a wide variety of things. And if you don't like the painting aspects of it, then you say, well, I love finishing concrete. Well, I don't personally like that. But you have the variety of doing different things, and you can work for a subcontractor who only does that kind of thing. So you don't have to come to work for a general, who is myself. To throw a couple things out at you, being a general, there's a lot more involved versus in the licensing industry. If you test out, once you have your qualifications, you can go for a painting contracting license. You need to be licensed in the state of California. You need to be bonded, which is like an insurance policy to make sure that you do your job. There's liability insurance, which means that you make sure the liability will cover any defects that you create or problems you create in their project. There is, when you hire people, which is a possibility because you're most likely probably not going to do everything yourself, you'll end up having to carry insurance, which is called workman's comp, on your employees. With that, you have payroll. So there's a lot of things that come to play when you actually own a business. Now, I know a lot of people, when I started, still work for someone, and they like it that way because of the responsibility level. So in my business, there's a lot of things that come along with it. Now, there's pros and cons in my business, owning my own business, which is flexibility, okay? And the harder you work, the more money you make, typically. So you regulate that. Now, when you work for someone, you're going to get paid for the hours that you work. And if you work Monday through Friday, whatever your schedule is, on Saturday and Sunday, you go home. And all those worries about work are behind you. When it comes to owning a company like I do, which I've now been in business almost 31 years, I feel like I've owned my business 31 years. There's a lot of sacrifices to be made. So there's good things. You can take off when you want to, but my phone is on 24/7. And I'm working every day. So that's another thing you need to take into consideration. You may say, well, I don't want that. I like mountain bike riding, so I'm taking every weekend off. Well, if you want to own a company like mine, you're not going to be able to do that every day. So you have to take that into consideration as well. So that's where we are with the business side of it.
Awesome. Blake, would you go ahead and take chat questions.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a few here in the chat for us. So start out, we just want to know what is your maybe your favorite project that you've worked on or built thus far?
Well, I know two of them because I never forget. The first one I worked on was in Mariposa, California, with my uncle, and he was a very smart builder. Probably one of the most intelligent building contractors that I know to this day. And he came to me when I believe at that time I was an apprentice, which is someone who has been in working with a company for approximately a year or two, I should say. And he came to me and showed me these plans of a home that the property kind of looked into Yosemite, and it was a house that was built on telephone poles, 30-foot telephone poles, literally, and had a spiral staircase that went up to it. So basically, you were building this home off of scaffolding, uh, forklifts. It was very dangerous, but the object was is to lift the house high enough to where they could look into Yosemite Valley. That's why this individual bought this property. And to this day, that house is still there. That was back in probably 88, I'm guessing. And building a house on telephone poles is something, because it wasn't easy, and I don't think too many people could even do it. Let's see, another one, I did a house in Raymond on a ranch about 3 or 4 years ago. And this property was so far off the main road that we had hardly any access to get anything large to the project, including our biggest problem, which was the roof trusses. They were so large that the truck couldn't transport them to the project. And so what we ended up doing is hiring a helicopter service to fly in to the main road, cable up 3 trusses at a time, and fly the trusses to the job site. That was something. I mean, I have a video of it. You can go to my website and you can see us flying trusses over other homes across the valley to this project and literally setting them on the house. I would say those are the two most exciting things that I've done.
That's awesome. That sounds really cool. I'll have to go and check out that video too, of the helicopter. That's awesome. And speaking of like the materials that you do get brought in, one of our other questions were, where do you get your materials from?
Okay, well, like I said, being a general, so we're dealing with a lot of materials. I mean, versus a single contractor, like a painter who goes down to Kelly Moore, Sherwin-Williams, and buys their paint. So we're dealing with hundreds of materials. A lot of them come from vendors that we've used. Like, I'll give you an example. Our cabinets are built custom for our homes, and they come from our cabinet maker who has been doing our cabinets for 30 years. Matter of fact, he's getting pretty close to retiring now. And so say, for instance, cabinets come from a custom cabinet builder. Lumber. We try to use the same people for our materials and products that we've used forever because of the relationship that we build with them. Our lumber comes out of Madera at S&J Lumber. Our concrete comes from Outback Materials, which is locally owned in our town for the foundations. So we try to, it's not about how much we necessarily spend for certain things. That does matter. But we like to work with people that we work with for a long time, and we've built a great relationship with.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And another one of our questions was, do you personally oversee the projects you work on, or do you kind of manage the team now from a distance, like subcontractors?
Well, I am, that's a great question, because I'm really old school. Now with technology of social media and the internet and computers, which I hope you can't tell that I'm a little uncomfortable with it, because I don't spend a lot of time via the internet. I'm old school in that I can run a project for a day, maybe from my office with Texas and those kind of things. But typically, I'm on every project. Like yesterday, I'm doing a project up in Bass Lake, and I was at that project from my office 4 times yesterday. So it's about an hour drive there and back to the office. So I like spending a lot of time there so my customers can be self assured that I'm doing what I should be doing. And when it comes to making sure that things are getting done properly and the quality is there. So to answer your question, it's if you're looking at a job that you want to do from home and you want to spend a lot of time trying to coordinate things on a project being in an office all day, you're not going to be that successful. I think you need to spend good quality time with the people that are paying you to do a project.
Awesome, thank you. We just got another question in as well. So how important are people skills in your role, and how might you deal with maybe like a difficult customer as well?
Okay, so that's something that was really driven into me when I was younger. I have a lot of respect for my grandfather. He was a salesman, so he dealt with PR, which is public relations. And one thing he told me when I was young, and I think this is very important to anybody that wants to go into business, that you have to create confidence. That's your job. And if the people aren't confident in you, then they're probably not going to hire you. But you can't just be a talker, you've got to walk it. So that means that you've got to go in and do everything that you said you would do. So I think dealing with people, you have to have a strong personality. You can't be a pushover, but at the same time, you got to be sympathetic to a lot of different things. Like, for instance, them having a medical disability and them not being able to get to the project to meet you, so you have to be accommodating, maybe having them come to your office, those kind of things. But I think it's really important that you are just because you're building a home out on a piece of property, you still have to be customer service oriented. It's very important.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, people skills definitely sounds like a huge portion of the non-building side of things. Another one of our questions was, what's something that maybe you learned on the job that you weren't maybe wouldn't be able to learn from like a book or a website or even taking a class? What's something that you learned like from being out there, being in it?
Well, I think that the one thing that I learned that I never thought that I would ever experience it because I never saw my uncle actually do it is rolling back into people skills. I think that you have to really have a personality to be able to deal with a wide variety of personalities. I've had some people that were the nicest people in the world to work for, and they made my job so easy because of that. And then over the years, I've worked for people that have been extremely difficult, and it's just part of their personality. That's who they are. But getting through that is very difficult. So I would say the thing that I wasn't expecting was to have such a wide variety of individuals. And I've built probably over 150 homes. I've probably done an excess of 100 remodels. I've done a lot of work. So that means that I've worked with a lot of people. So I think that the biggest thing is just learning how to talk to people and creating that confidence and getting through it.
I love it. We have some more questions coming in too. Kind of, I guess, almost like a two-parter. With so many natural disasters like fires specifically in like the Central Valley, in the Fresno area, have you worked with rebuilding any houses? And do you have like experience in building homes with um, wildfire or mudslide, earthquake proofing features or anything like that?
Yes. So of course we've had a lot of devastation. over the time through fires. A year and a half ago, we had a struggle with the snow and the winter. Um, I work with a lot of insurance companies as well because a lot of the natural disasters infect the people's insurance. They directly go to the insurance companies trying to get their home put back together or rebuilt. So I've dealt with a lot of that. I really don't prefer to work with the insurance companies. If anybody ever has, they'll know what I'm talking about. It's a struggle most of the time, and I've got two of them going now. That's really hard. But yes, I've built a lot of homes that have burned down and recreated and built. I just finished one. I during the last winter we had, we were slammed with the snow stuff in Bass Lake for probably 3 to 4 months of fixing roofs and getting people back into their homes. So we also deal with a lot of catastrophic stuff that impacts people's personal lives as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Clay, for answering all these questions. Jonathan, do you have anything else you'd like to ask at all before?
I think just I think just a big question I have is for our students who, they weren't able to make it here today, and they're really interested in your presentation. Maybe they had another school function or something, and they watch this recording later. Is it okay in the, I guess you could say the weeks, the days, maybe even months to come, if they send me questions, I can kind of shoot them over to you? Is that okay? We won't send you 15 students, I promise. What we would do is we'd probably compile a list. Is that something that you'd be open to?
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be a little adjustment for me, mainly because I'm not a computer guy. So, matter of fact, it sounds kind of crazy, but my wife helps me with a lot of responses to emails that we get, and pretty much everybody and their brother does that now. And but I'm old school in that I love talking to people face to face when I can. But my biggest thing, and I think it's really important to kids nowadays, is that voice means everything. It really does. Like me talking right now via Zoom is great, but I would prefer that I went to a career fair in person and was able to talk to your kids in person because there's nothing's going to replace that. And maybe people say, well, you're crazy, Clay, because you're just not up with the times. Well, I just know that I feel so much better talking to my doctor when I go in than him sending me an email. And I just don't get that true personal feeling from him. So to answer your question, I would say absolutely. I'll do what I can to help them in any way I can. And it's about giving back.
Awesome. I love it. And I just had this image of me. So I have a lot of family members in the construction industry as well. And I remember trying out to work with one of my uncles, and they said, "Here, come with the broom." Well, I have really bad allergies, and that first day on the job, I was like, "The construction trade is not for me. I want to be with students in the classroom." So that kind of leads me to one last question, and that is, would you say shadowing is important in doing those basic jobs to discover what students like, if they are those hands-on type of students? Would you say that that's key?
Yeah, it is. And here's the thing, what I learned is I get your broom comment. And the reason I say that is because that's how I started. My uncle, when I started with him, he didn't say, hey, I'm going to give you the most important job there is, and you're going to love it. He says, I'm going to have you cleaning footings with a shovel. I'm going to have you sweeping. I'm going to have you loading that truck with the debris and taking it to the dump. So, what I want kids to do today, and they have to understand this, is that you have to pay your dues. You don't, most of the kids today that I meet want to know the greatest job that they're going to get to do. And how much money? The first question I had a kid last year asked me on an interview was, "How much money am I going to make?"
Mm.
That was the first question. For me as an old timer, complete turnoff. They're more interested in how much money they're going to make than what they're actually going to do. And so I don't have a problem paying, but what are you going to do for me? So I think that in my industry, it's not going to be surprising that they're going to start out sweeping, and they're going to be loading a dump trailer, and they're going to be cleaning up, because that's where they're going to start. And those people that make it through that like I did, tells me that they're going to go to the next step. So that's how I kind of look at that.
Love it. Thank you so much. That's all I have, Blake. I'll turn it back over to you.
Muted. There we go. Even with us who work with computers all the time, still mess up with our technology and stuff too. Yeah, no. So thank you so much, Clay, for taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us here, and on our virtual environment too. You know, kind of stepping your comfort zone into this virtual world with us for our students. Just shows how much of that, talk about going above and beyond, for our students. We really appreciate it. So thank you again so much for your time today. Um, and for our students and those watching, we have another amazing speaker coming up at the 10 o'clock hour. If there's nothing else, I hope that you all have a wonderful day. Thank you again so much. Can't thank you enough, Clay, for showing up here today and
Thank
sharing
you,
your wealth
guys.
of knowledge.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see everybody at our next session.